Hello everyone, I am Dr. Mamta Garg, Professor in English, Government Narmada College, Hoshangabad. In my previous presentation, I discussed with you friends sonnet number 26, and today I am going to analyze and interpret Shakespearean sonnet number 27. This sonnet depicts the triumph of love over separation. Poet's friend is not with him, but in these lonely moments, the image of his friend, which emerges in his thoughts, sustains him and gives pleasure to his exhaustive mind, which ultimately drives away the dreadful darkness of the night and makes those lonely and dark moments of the night beautiful and pleasing. So, this sonnet depicts the restless state of the mind of the poet, which is caused due to his intense and deep love for his friend. So, the poem starts with these very lines: Weary with toil, I haste me to my bed. The dear repose for limbs with travel tired. Word toil in the very first line that refers to the hard work. Poet must have been busy in his routine works during the daytime, and he's exhausted now. And he's so much tired, he badly needs the rest. So that's why the poet, he says, I haste me to my bed. He hastens to the bed because he no longer can continue his work and he wants to take the rest. So that's why he retires to the rest, to the bed. The dear repose for limbs with travel tired. So apart from being busy during the daytime in his work, poet must have been doing the traveling, and due to that impact of the travel, the poet is tired. The dear repose for limbs. All the limbs of the poet, they are no longer in a position to do the work. All the limbs of the poet's body, they are shattered due to the exhaustive work, and he needs the rest. So that's why immediately he goes to the bed to rejuvenate himself, to enliven himself, so that he may continue his work next day with the same enthusiasm by being totally fresh. But then begins a journey in my head to work my mind. So, though the poet, he retires to the bed, but in spite of going to the bed, in spite of lying on the bed, poet is not able to sleep. So, apart from that journey which he had done during the daytime, now mental journey starts. Poet is lost in contemplation. Different types of thoughts, they start emerging in the mind of the poet. So, after completing the journey, after traveling throughout the day, after performing all the different types of course during the daytime, poet now sets on for the mental journey, which to work my mind, he says, when body's works expire. So that mental journey also troubles the poet. Body's works expire. When all the works of the body, they have come to a standstill. When he's no longer doing any physical work, but now the mental work starts. Because the poet is psychologically, he's disturbed. So, due to those psychological repercussions, due to those disturbances which have been going on in the mind of the poet, his thoughts, they take him into another world. Then my thoughts from far where I abide intend a jealous pilgrimage to thee. So the thoughts of the poet, they take him to the place which is too far from the physical world. So the poet gets transported into the world of the spirit. In his spirits, he starts thinking before him, or he starts imagining that about the image of his beloved. For then my thoughts from far where I abide intend a jealous pilgrimage to thee. Jealous is which is so much enthusiastic. The poet, with full enthusiasm, with complete zeal, he sets on a pilgrimage. To thee, thee he refers. The word is for the beloved of the poet. He says that I set on a pilgrimage. Pilgrimage has religious associations. So the poet relates this mental journey to a pilgrimage. As if we have trust in God, our trust, firm faith in God makes us to go on the pilgrimage. Whenever we want to do the worship, whenever we want to pay homage to God, so we worship Him and we go on the pilgrimage in the same manner. The poet sets on a pilgrimage in his imagination because there that world is related with the world of his beloved. So he correlates it with the sacredness. It is a sacred journey which the poet starts in his spirit. And keep my drooping eyelids wide open. Poet is not able to sleep. Though he is trying his best to sleep, but thoughts after thoughts, they start emerging in the mind of the poet. And those thoughts, they don't let him sleep. It happens with everyone. Whenever we are extremely tired, sometimes due to the extreme exhaustion and fatigue, we fail to sleep. And apart from that, if you start thinking about something, your thoughts also, in spite of being extremely tired, they don't let you sleep. And due to that, your sleep, that vanishes. So the poet is also referring to that stage of himself. He says, though his eyes are drooped due to the impact of the sleep, but in spite of his efforts, he is not able to sleep at all. All his eyelids, they remain widely open, looking on darkness which the blind do see. And he keeps on peeping through the darkness. He keeps his eyes open and he looks through the darkness which the blind do see. That darkness which the blind people, they see. As the world of the blind persons that is surrounded by the darkness. They can't see, but they see through the darkness of through the darkness only. So in the same manner, the poet also looks through the darkness. He keeps on peeping through it. Save that my soul's imaginary sight presents thy shadow to my sightless view. Save that my soul's imaginary sight. So in his imagination, poet starts thinking about his beloved. And then there emerges before his eyes the shadow of his beloved's image. Through the sightless view, he keeps on looking all around himself, and at that time there appears before him the shadow of the image of his beloved. So the poet in his imagination, he starts conceiving, he starts imagining about the picture of his beloved, white like a jewel. White like a jewel. He says that image of his beloved, it is totally like a jewel. Jewel is a precious ornament. So, and jewel which glitters, which sparkles. So the presence of the image of his beloved, that sparkles the atmosphere where the poet is. Where? Hung in ghastly night. So though it's darkness, everywhere because of the night, darkness is prevailing all around him. But it appears as if in that darkness, because of that image, that dreadful darkness also gets glittered and brightened. The darkness gets vanished, and everywhere the poet can feel the brightness due to the impact of the image which emerges before his eyes, which like a jewel hung on ghastly night, makes black night beauteous. So, night, though it's the night time, but even that night time also becomes beautiful. because the poet can see the picture of his beloved before his eyes. So he forgets about it, that it's the night time. And even the night also gets illumined due to the image which appears before the poet. And her old face new, lo thus. By day and my limbs, by night my mind, and her old face new. So, the old face, the face of his beloved, though it must have grown old with the passage of time, obviously, maybe the beloved must have grown old. But the poet, in his imagination, he paints the picture of his beloved in such a way that he gives it a new form. You know, love never dies, it always remains fresh, it always remains unaffected by time. Rather, it keeps on becoming stronger and stronger with the passage of time if there exists true love between the two lovers. So, the poet is a true lover, and the lovers can do anything. They can, physically, they may be at one place, and spiritually, they may be somewhere else. So, that's the position of the poet. He says, and her old face new. So that's how he gives. That means her beloved appears totally new to her. Though she must have grown old with the passage of time, she must have lost beauty, her physical beauty must have got decayed, but she appears totally new and fresh and beautiful to him. That's why he says, makes black night beauteous. The memory, the shadow, the image of his beloved that illumines the night and adds colors and makes these dark moments of the night pleasing for the poet. Lo, thus by day my limbs, by night my mind. So during daytime, poet remains busy in physical work. He gets exhausted due to the extremity of the work which he performs during day. By night, my mind. But at night, his mind works. So that way, he says, whether it's the daytime or it's the night time, he is not able to take the rest. As poet's thoughts, they remain obsessed with the memory of his beloved at night, and during daytime, his body is at work. So in spite of being there at the bed, in spite of getting retired to the bed, poet is not able to sleep. That is the position of the true lovers. There is no respite for them. They don't find solace anywhere else because they always remain obsessed with the thoughts of their lovers. So this type of true love exists between the poet and his beloved. For thee and for myself, no quiet find. There is no quietness. There is no calmness. There is no peace. Either for the poet or for the beloved. He says, for thee. Neither for you and for myself, nor for the poet himself. There is no quietness. This is the path of the love. Lovers, they always undergo through the same type of condition as the poet is going. So that's how this poem, it has depicted here, Shakespeare has depicted about the spiritual love which the poet has been having in the deep recesses of his heart for his beloved. As far as the structure of the poem is concerned, it's same as it is followed by Shakespeare in all his sonnets, 3 quatrains and a couplet at the end of the poem. Thank you so much.